Good morning. Today we will study order of an element and subgroups. The order of an element G in a group G is the smallest positive integer n such that G raised power n equal to E. E here is the identity element of a group G. If the operation is that of addition, then this condition become Ng equal to 0. 0 is the identity element of group G, and in this case coefficient of G is called the order of an element G in a group G. If we cannot find a positive integer n such that G raised power n equal to E or Ng equal to 0 in case of addition, then G has infinite order. The order of an element G is denoted by writing two lines around G, or sometimes we denote it by writing G within the round bracket, and on the left side of the round bracket we write 0 or O in the superscript. So to find the order of an element G, we need to compute the sequences of product G, G square, G cube and so on until we reach the identity element for the first time. And if the operation is that of addition, we will compute G, 2G, 3G and so on until we reach the identity element for the first time to find the order of an element G. The exponent of this product is the order of G. If the operation is that of addition, then the coefficient of G is the order of G. See, in case of addition, we find the coefficient of G, and in case of other operations, we see the exponent of G. This is the order of G, and these products are carried out according to operations given in the group. If the identity never appears in the sequence, then G has infinite order. So for example, if we consider a set U15 equal to 1, 2, 4, 7, 8, 11, 13 and 14, U15 is the set of all integers less than 15 which are relatively prime to 15. And we will show that it is a group under multiplication modulo 5. What does relatively prime means? Two integers are said to be relatively prime if there is no integer greater than 1 that divides the both. It means the greatest common divisor of both the element is 1. So we will write the elements which are relatively prime to 15, means which have greatest common divisor with that element with 15 as 1. So I have written 1, 2 and 15 are relatively prime because they are not divisible by any number other than 1. 4 and 15 are relatively prime. 7 and 15 are relatively prime. 8, like I have skipped 9 because in 9 and 15 are divisible by 3. So we will write those elements whose greatest common divisor is 1. So this is U15 is a set of all the integers less than 15 which are relatively prime to 15. We will write the elements here which are relatively prime to 15. So the number of these elements is 8. So the order of this group is 8. Now we will find the order of an element 7, just to demonstrate how to find the order of an element. So always take care of group operation whenever we find the order of an element. So here operation is multiplication modulo 15. So we will compute the sequence like 7 raised to 1. 7 raised to 1 means 7. If you divide it by 15, the remainder is 7 only. Now 7 square. 7 square means 49. If you divide 49 by 15, 15 3s are 45 and the remainder is 4. So I have written 4 here. So always use the operation of the group to compute these sequences. G square, G cube and so on. So here the operation is multiplication modulo 15. So I have used here uh, multiplication modulo 15 to calculate 7 square. 7 square means 7 into 7 49. 49 divided by 15. 15 threes are 45. Remainder is 4. So I have written 4 here. 7 cube. 7 cube means 7 cube is 343. If we divide 343 by 15, the remainder is 13. So 7 cube is 13. 7 raised to power 4. 7 raised to power 4 is 2401. You can calculate these. So if we divide 2401 by 15, the remainder is 1. So we have reached the remainder 1 because 1 is the identity element of this group. One may verify that 1 is the identity element. So 7 raised to power 4 is 1. So order of 7 is 4. Similarly, we can find the order of other elements. Let's check the order of 11 also, so that you understand how to find the order of an element under multiplication modulo 15. So first is 11 raised to power 1. 11 raised to power 1 is 11. If we divide it by 15, the remainder is 11. 11 square. 11 square is 121. 121. If you divide by 15, the remainder will be 1. So we have reached 1, the identity element. So 11 square is 1. Therefore, we can write order of 11 is 2. Similarly, we can obtain order of 1 is 1, order of 2 is 4, order of 4 is 2, order of 8 is 4, order of 13 is 4, order of 14 is 2. This you can calculate following the similar procedure, applying the multiplication modulo 15 as the operation of a group. But you may notice that for elements like 13, 14, it is not so easy to calculate 13, then 13 square, then 13 cube, then 13 raised to 4 and so on. So here is a trick that makes this calculation easier. Rather than computing the 13, 13 square, 13 cube, 13, 14, 13 raised to 4, we may observe that 13 is equal to minus 2 mod 15. Because if we divide by 13 by 15, the remainder is minus 2. So 13 is equal to 13 raised to 1 is equal to minus 2 mod 5. So we will use this to calculate next term of the sequences. 13 square is equal to minus 2 whole square. Minus 2 whole square is 4. If we divide it by 15, the remainder is 4. So now it is easier to calculate. Rather than calculating 13 square is a big number which is 169. So the calculation is lengthy. So 13, instead of calculating 13 cube, we calculate 13 square is minus 2 and 13 is into 4. So it is minus 2 into 4. Because 13 is minus 2, 13 square is minus 2 square. So 13 cube is 13 into 13 square. So minus 2 into 4 is minus 8. Again, if we divide by 15, the remainder is 8. 13, 4. 13 4 raised to 4 means 13 is minus 2 and 13 cube is minus 8. So minus 2 into minus 8 is minus 16. If we divide minus 16 by 15, the remainder is 1. So we have reached 1. So this is another way of calculating larger terms. You can also calculate by applying this procedure also. Calculate 13 square. 13 square will be 169 divided by 15. You will get the remainder. Similarly, you can calculate 13 cube divided by 15. You will get the remainder. Calculate 13 raised to 4. Then divided by 15. You will get the remainder and keep writing the remainders in front of the sequences unless you reach the identity element, which is 1 here. So this is the way how to calculate the order of elements of the group U15 under multiplication modulo 15. Now consider another group. Z10 under additional modulo 10. This is the set of integers and the operation is additional modulo 10. So in this case we will use the formula ng equal to 0 because 0 is the identity element for the set of integers. So 1 into 2 is 2, 2 into 2 is 4, 3 into 2 is 6, 4 into 2 is 8, 5 into 2 is 0. 5 2s are 10. If we divide 10 by 10, the remainder is 0 because the operation is additional modulo 10. So if we divide 10 by 10, the remainder is 0 and 0 is the additive identity of this group or simply identity of this group. So we have reached the identity. So coefficient of 2 is the order of this group. So coefficient of 2 is 5. So order of 2 is 5. Similarly, we can show that order of 0 is 1, order of 7 is 10, order of 5 is 2, order of 6 is 5. Here 2 into 2 means 2 plus 2. 3 into 2 means 2 plus 2 plus 2 and so on. If we consider Z under the ordinary addition, then every non-zero element has infinite order. Since the sequence A, 2A, 3A never includes 0 when A is not equal to 0. Suppose we want to find the order of 2 in this case. So 1 into 2, then 2 into 2, then 3 into 2, then 4 into 2, 5 into 2, up to infinity, we will never reach the identity element 0. So order of each element of this group is infinite except 0. Now subgroups. If H is a subset of a group G, then it will be a group if it itself is a group under the operation of G. We say that H is a subgroup of G. So for any subset to be a group, to be a subgroup of a group, it should be group in itself. It should satisfy all the properties of group. Then only it is a subgroup of G. If H is a subgroup of G but is not equal to G, then H is called the proper subgroup of G. The subgroup E is called the trivial subgroup of G because it is also a group in itself. This is a set containing identity element and this is called the trivial subgroup of G. A subgroup that is not E is called the non-trivial subgroup of G. Notice that Zn under additional modulo n is not a subgroup of Z under addition because in Zn the operation is additional modulo n. In Z operation is addition. Since additional modulo n is not the operation of Z. So for any subset to be a group, it should be a group under the operation of G. Operation should be same. When determining whether or not a subset H of a group G is a subgroup of G, one need not directly verify the group axioms. The next three results provide simple tests that suffice to show that a subset of a group is a subgroup. So first is, let G be a group and H is a non-empty subset of G. If AB inverse is in H, whenever A and B are in H, then H is a subgroup of G. And we use this result for almost majority of problems arising in group theory. If H is a non-empty subset of G, then if AB inverse is in G, for AB in H, then H is a subgroup of G. If the operation is that of addition, then instead of AB inverse we write A minus B is in H whenever A and B are in H. because in case of addition, minus b is the additive inverse of b. And then H is a subgroup of G. Here AB inverse is used according to the group operations. Since the operation of H is same as that of G, it is clear that this operation is associative. So next we show that E belongs to H. Since H is non-empty, we may pick any X belonging to H. It is given that H is non-empty subset of G. So we may pick some element X belonging to H. It means E is equal to X, X inverse. If X inverse is the X of X. In fact, all the elements of H are also element of G, and G is a group. So inverse of each of its element exists. So E is equal to X, X inverse. If we substitute A equal to X and B equal to X, then X is equal to A and X inverse is equal to B inverse. And AB inverse is given to be in H. It means AB inverse belongs to H. And if we choose A equal to E and B equal to X in the hypothesis, then we get AB inverse is equal to A we have substituted E, so this is E, and B we have taken to be X, so E X inverse. And E into X inverse is X inverse, and so X inverse belongs to H. So we have shown that associativity is elements satisfies associativity. There exists identity element in H. There exists inverse element in H. Now only closure property remains to satisfy in H. So we have xy is equal to x y inverse inverse, because inverse is the element itself. Inverse of y inverse is y itself. This we have studied in the properties of group. So xy is equal to x y inverse inverse. We have substituted, if we substitute x equal to a and b equal to y inverse, here x equal to a, b equal to y inverse, because we have shown that x inverse belongs to H. So we can substitute b equal to y inverse. Then we get a b inverse, because y inverse is b. So ab inverse, but it is given that ab inverse is in H. So ab inverse belongs to H. AB inverse is nothing but xy. It is equal to xy. It means xy belongs to H. So it means H is closed under the given operation, means xy belongs to H for all xy belonging to H. Hence H is a subgroup of G. So we will use this property in group theory to show that any non-empty subset of a group G is a subgroup of G. So whenever we could prove that AB inverse is in G for A and B in H, then it means that H is a subgroup of G. Now, suppose we are given any non-empty subset of a group G and we wish to prove that it is a subgroup of that group. Then we will follow some steps. First of all, we will identify the property P that distinguishes the elements of H. That is, identify the defining condition. Next, we will prove that identity has this property. First, we will find the defining condition which distinguishes the elements of H from the elements of G. Then we will prove that the identity has this property, and this will verify that H is non-empty. Next, we will assume that two elements A and B have the property P, and then use the assumption of A and B have the property P to show that AB inverse has the property P, because in the last result we have proved that if AB inverse belongs to H, then H is a subgroup of G. So we will demonstrate these steps by means of one example. Let G be an abelian group with identity E. then H is equal to X belonging to G such that X square equal to E is a subgroup of G. So we are given a set H which consists of elements of G for which X square equal to E. So our defining property of H is the condition X square equal to E, which we have identified. So first we note that E square is always equal to E because E is the identity element of a group G. So E square is equal to H, and because E square is E, it is the element of G because it satisfies this condition. So H is non-empty. Now we assume that A and B belongs to H. If A and B are in H, it means A square equal to E and B square equal to E because elements of H are defined like this. Finally, we must show that AB inverse square equal to E. Let's see. Since G is abelian, AB inverse whole square is equal to AB inverse into AB inverse. In case of abelian, B inverse A is always equal to AB inverse. So B inverse A can be written as AB inverse. So it means AB inverse means A into A, B inverse means B inverse whole square. So A square B inverse whole square. And B inverse whole square can be written as B square inverse. A square is E, B square is also E, so E inverse. Inverse of identity element is the identity itself. So E into E is nothing but E. So AB inverse whole square is also identity element, and this satisfies this condition. Therefore AB inverse belongs to H. It means H is a subgroup of G. So here we have used the condition that if H is a non-empty subset of a group G and AB inverse belongs to H, whenever AB belongs to H, then H is a subgroup of G. And we have followed the steps which we discussed in the last slide. So steps involved in proving the non-empty subset of a group G to be a subgroup of G. In many cases, a subgroup will consist of all elements that have a particular form. Then the property P is that of the elements that have that particular form. This is illustrated in the following example. Let G be a abelian group under the multiplication with identity E, and H is defined as X square such that X belongs to G and this is a subgroup of G. Here H is the set of all squares. See, it is H is equal to X square such that X belongs to G. It means H is a set of all squares of the elements of G. So here the property P is that the elements have the particular form. So we have identified the condition. The particular form means that is H is the set of elements squares of elements of G. Since E square equal to E, as we discussed in last case also, E belongs to H. Next, let A square and B square belongs to H. And this also we have discussed in last example also. This is the case is similar. So A square equal to E and B square equal to E. Since G is abelian, we may write A square B square inverse equal to AB inverse whole square belonging to H. Hence H is a subgroup of G. This I have written in short because in detail we have discussed it in last example. Only here the defining condition is bit different. In that case, the group was defined as X belonging to G such that X square equal to E. Here H is the set of all the H is the set of square of elements of G. Let G be a group and H be a non-empty subset of G. If AB is in H whenever A and B are in H, And A inverse is in H. Whenever A is in H, then H is subgroup of G. If AB is in H, whenever A and B are in H, we call this as H is closed under the operation of a group. If A inverse is in H, we call this as H is closed under taking inverses. So in the last result, we have seen that H will be a subgroup of G. It is already given to be non-empty if AB inverse belongs to H whenever AB belongs to H. So we will use that result to prove this theorem. So it is suffices to show that AB belongs to H implies AB inverse belongs to H. So we suppose that A and B belongs to H. Since H is closed under taking inverses, therefore B inverse belongs to H. Because B is in H, therefore B inverse also belongs to H. We are given that H is closed under taking inverses. Also A is the element of H, B inverse is also the element of H, and it is given that H is closed under the operation. Therefore AB inverse belongs to H by closure under the multiplication. It means we have proved that AB inverse belongs to H. H is a subgroup of G. Sometimes we also use this property to prove that any subset of G is a subgroup of G. This condition states the elements of H should be closed under the group operation, and it should be closed under taking inverses. So on applying this result to prove any subset of a group to be a subgroup, we proceed exactly in the previous case, except we use the assumption that A and B have the property P to prove that AB has the property P and A inverse has the property P. So only this part is different. So this we have learned that how to prove that any subset, non-empty subset of a group is a subgroup. So how do we prove that subset of a group is not a subgroup? Here there are three possible ways, any one of which guarantees that subset is not a subgroup. First of all, show that identity is not in the set. Second, exhibit an element of the set whose inverse is not in the set. Third, exhibit two elements of the set whose product is not in the set, means it does not satisfy closure exam. If we could prove any one of these conditions, then it means that subset of a group is not a subgroup. For example, let G be a group of non-zero real numbers under multiplication. Let H is equal to X belonging to G such that X is equal to 1 or X is irrational. Either it is 1 or it is irrational. This is our defining condition. And K is equal to X belonging to G for X greater than or equal to 1. So this is the K is the set of those elements of G which are greater than or equal to 1. Then H is not a subgroup of G because H is the set of H is the set of elements for which X equal to 1 or X is irrational. So under root 2 belongs to H because it is irrational. But under root 2 into under root 2 is equal to 2. But 2 does not belong to H because it consists of either 1 or irrational numbers. So 2 does not belong to H. It means it is not closure axiom is not satisfied by the elements of H. So H is not a subgroup of G. And K is also not a subgroup of G since 2 belongs to K but 2 inverse does not belong to K because 2 inverse is 1 upon 2 and K is the set of all the elements of G which are greater than or equal to 1. So 1 upon 2 does not belong to K. So K is not a subgroup of G. So when dealing with finite groups, it is easier to use the following result also. We have done 2 results earlier and now this is the third one. Let H be a non-empty finite subset of a group G. If H is closed under the operation of G, then H is a subgroup of G. So here we need only to prove that A inverse belongs to H whenever A belongs to H, because it is given that H is closed under the operation of G. So using previous result, in the previous result there were two conditions for any subset to be a group, that either it is closed under operation group operation, and it is closed under taking inverses. So in this case it is already given that H is closed under the operation of G. Now we will prove that A inverse H belongs to H whenever A belongs to H. If A is equal to E, then A inverse is equal to A, because inverse of identity element is the identity element itself, and the proof is complete. If A is not equal to E, then consider the sequence A square, A cube, and so on. Because closure axiom is satisfied, H is closed under the operation of G, therefore A belongs to H. A square means A dot A also belongs to H, A cube also belongs to H. So all these elements belongs to H. Since H is finite, it is already given, it is a finite set. So not all of these elements are distinct. Say AI equal to AJ and I is greater than J. It means I minus J is equal to E. I have multiplied both sides by A raised to power minus J. So it is A raised to power I minus J, A raised to power J minus J means identity element. Since A is not equal to E and I minus J is greater than 1, thus A into I minus J minus 1 equal to I minus J equal to E, and therefore A raised to power I minus J minus 1 is equal to A raised to power A inverse, because A into I minus J minus 1 is A raised to power I minus J, and we have proved it to be E. So it means this element is the inverse of A. But I minus J minus 1 is greater than or equal to 1. It means A raised to power I minus J minus 1 belongs to H, and we are done. So whenever we are given H is a non-empty subset of a group G, and we wish to prove that it is a subgroup of G or not, we may apply any one of these results. Thank you.